the most powerful tool that you could use is your voice. And
Wow.
she said, there's so many ancient ceremonial practices where they hum or they sing, and
Mhm.
that frequency is catered to your body specifically, and that resonates more with different body types, different energy types.
Mhm. How do you think sound heals? Not just with our voices, but you have the bowls.
Yeah.
How does that heal our bodies and our nervous systems?
Yeah. Our bodies are 75% water, and if there's a tone that's going on around us, our body has no other choice but then to kind of surrender and submit a little bit to that
Mhm.
tone. But chemically, um, there are a handful of different things that happen. The body produces dopamine. The body produces more serotonin, melatonin. The vagus nerve relaxes when you relax the
Mhm.
nervous system.
Do you remember what it feels like to be comfortable in your own skin? Not just confident, but also pain-free, relaxed, healthy, and carefree. Think about the most robust version of your own childhood body. This is what lifeiness feels like, a joyful spirit and a vibrant physical state of being. I'm your guide, Professor Sarah, storyteller, teacher, and wellness enthusiast. Reach into the vitality of your own girlhood to supercharge your grown-up life.
So, welcome back to the Lifeiness podcast. Thanks for joining me. Today I'm talking to Julia, who is a Reiki master and a massage therapist and a sound healer. Have you ever had a really strong feeling that you belong, that you're just like connected to the world, that you're secure here, and that you're needed and wanted? And I guess this is kind of tied to the guided meditation I did last week. If you haven't checked it out, it's just the previous episode. I do a relaxation episode every other week. So I kind of feel like it came from that higher self. And the message was simply that I'm connected, that I belong here, that I'm secure here. It was kind of in the form of this really cool matriarchal ancestral vision that I had. I was just getting a massage from Julia. And the thing is, she got me very, very relaxed. And it was her sound bowls, her singing bowls, when she started using them. That's when images and messages just kind of involuntarily came. I guess you can call it from my higher self. I mean, that's where I believe it came from. I don't know where else it would have come from because I thought the thoughts. It's just not something that I was intentionally trying to think about. In fact, I thought I was almost asleep. But then suddenly I just got this overwhelming feeling that I am connected with the universe, that I'm kind of this really important link between ancestors, generations before and generations after, and not necessarily even in a physical sense, but that as well. We talk about joyfulness a lot in the podcast, and I talk a little bit about how it's different from happiness. But this sense of being content and belonging, I can't think of a better way to describe joy, because it has nothing to do with striving or trying to get somewhere or have someone or be someone. It was more like exactly how you are. You belong here. You're connected. You're meaningful. But I say all of this, I start off today saying this because I got this incredible feeling and message through sound healing. So that's what I want to focus on today. But it's also something that I want to share because it's an experience that I am absolutely positive that every human being can have, if you create that space for yourself. And this is not something I was familiar with. And I certainly didn't go to Julia for necessarily energy work. I just love how intuitive she is, how sensitive she is, just with touch, so physically sensitive. So I'm so glad I've met Julia and experienced this. She does amazing work. Just the body work that she does is wonderful and is definitely worth just that. Sound healing, or the sound bath that she implemented in our session last time. They're basically like Tibetan singing bowls. I was there on the table, very relaxed because we were about an hour into it, and she started using the singing bowls. I started having just kind of involuntary visions, beautiful visions and narratives. And at the same time, I knew I was there face down on the table. So the way she kind of explains it is that, she didn't put like any psychedelic drugs in her essential oils that she was using. It's more, just basically what happens when you dream. But a lot of times we don't have access to that when we're awake. So I guess we could kind of explain it like lucid dreaming. So, and then when she mentioned that this is a modality of healing that can help kids with autism, or anyone with autism, I definitely perked up because are so many people either suffering with the symptoms of autism or have someone in their family, a loved one. And I just want to spread the word, right? I did a little research, and there's a lot of parents out there who have used sound healing with their kids, and attest to its powers. I don't think there's any reason to doubt that sound heals us. This is why we go to concerts and why we like to sing together in church. The synchronizing of our voices and the beat definitely has a healing and uplifting effect psychologically, spiritually. But the fact that it may be able to change us physiologically for the better, that's something that I am just kind of unpacking right now. And even though I've just had a little taste of this, it's something I'm going to continue pursuing, learning about, and realizing, kind of just having an awareness that this is what I'm doing a lot. When you turn your radio on in the car, when you want to go to a dance class or you want to go out dancing, when you just feel the need to hum or sing, a lot of this is soothing your nervous system, regulating your nervous system through sound, through vibration. This is why people, join bands late in life and just keep on playing, and they just want to be synchronized with others in vibration. So I think this is just a beautiful concept that I believe Western medicine patients, people suffering with various psychological or physiological illnesses will come to discover. And I'm excited to be able to sit down with an expert on it today and share this with you. So please welcome Julia Everson to the show, a Reiki master, massage therapist, and sound healer based in Ponte Vedra, Florida. First of all, thank you so much for being on the Lifiness podcast. This is awesome.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Because I had such a good experience last time with you, with our session. Yeah, but I'm excited to share a little bit with you, while we're talking, and then to see what that means, or what, kind of what you experience sometimes when, people have visions and hallucinations and things like that. So we'll get to that in a minute. But
all of this is intuitive body work, right? But on the other side, there's so much just juicy information about like what is actually happening in the body, like chemically. And, there's been all these different studies. I mean, there's Reiki in hospitals, so it's like, there's just so much that I could talk about this stuff like all day long. So I definitely want to, touch on the parts that you need and just kind of have it all be full circle.
Yeah.
But it's been an honor to work with you, and, I'm glad that you're having experiences, and it's wonderful.
So let's just start at the very kind of like baseline of like, what is Reiki? And then like, what is energy in the context of Reiki?
Yeah. Beautiful starting point. So the energy that is inside of literally every cell, every thought, every plant, every child, everything, even to like hard objects, there's a vibration that resonates to that. That is Reiki. It's everything that's around us. And, it can get confusing because there's so many different facets of two different forms of energy. And, is this a psychological energy? Is this an emotional energy? It's all the same thing. And that energy has an intelligence behind it. The energy of each cell inside of my body that knows to produce mitochondria to do something in some type of some plasm, or the grass that wakes up and, gets sunlight on it. It already knows what to do. That innate knowledge and intelligence that's in every cell is what Reiki is. So as a practitioner, I've been trained on how to sense different vibrations and different frequencies and different emotions and different things. So by being just in tune and curious, I can sense different energies of intelligence that's within everything. Like I'll go into different buildings and I'll feel different things, or I'll have a conversation and I can tell if someone isn't quite saying exactly what's on their mind or what's on their heart. And that's just being in tune to that universal, brilliant intelligence that's in everything around us.
Yeah, it occurs to me as you're talking about this that like a lot of this is intuition, that since you have the gift of it, right, and you've been trained in this practice of Reiki, so you're probably naturally intuitive. I think a lot of people ignore their intuition because, at least in this kind of modern day society, it's not necessary in a lot of situations, or like it seems like that in a very goal-oriented capitalistic society. You don't need your intuition, but I think what's happened is the tables have turned, and now everyone needs someone to help them with their energy, to like, kind of connect with them. So it seems like that gift is the baseline gift for kind of like before you even become a practitioner, like being in touch with that, which everyone, I believe, everyone can, like just as humans and mammals, we can do that, but it's just so hard to get in touch with that.
We're all born with psychic abilities. It's just a matter of what was your environment when you were growing up as a child? Were you able to express what you were feeling or what you were sensing, or was that suppressed? So starting at a young adolescent age, those characteristics or traits can be either developed or suppressed. And a lot of times, we're little children in these bodies and we're actually picking up on things around us, but our parents are like, oh, don't talk about that. Or, you should be doing this, not this. So I think it's just kind of how society has conformed us to suppress. So of course, naturally, our intuitive, psychic, gut feelings are going to be just pushed to the back burner. And I think if, we had more just classes in general school where they talk about their feelings more, they talk about what it is that they might be seeing over there or whatever, the child needs, I think that would have given us all a better like step up. But now people are realizing, I'm not happy in my job, or I'm in a relationship, but something keeps coming up every time I'm around this person. So giving yourself the opportunity to just kind of pause and sense what you're feeling. We haven't been taught that. So
explain to me, what is happening, your experience when you're working with someone else's energy?
Yeah, there's a handful of different things that happen in each individual session, which is why I think I love it so much, because there isn't a certain protocol that I follow. Typically when someone comes in, I'll meet them wherever they are. And that kind of sets the tone, having them feeling witnessed and seen it sets the tone for the entire session. And I think, being able to just feel like someone's actually genuinely listening, and they're genuinely not trying to rush me. They're not trying to, speed up through this to get to the next client. So just being like witnessed and seen is the first part. And based off of what body gestures my clients are giving me, what things are coming up, what I might be picking on up just physically, I can kind of cater the session to what they need energetically. So I'll have them come in, I'll have them we'll create an intention together. And that could be something as simple as, I'm going through a huge transition with work, and I just want to feel empowered and feel supported. Wonderful. Or it could be, my mother just passed or my father just passed. I need some support through that. Sometimes people don't want to set an intention that they speak out loud. So they hold that. I tell them, hold that in your heart, and I will just sense what your body's telling me. So the practitioner will have the client lay on the table. And I use my hands, which acupuncturists use needles. Acupressurists use their fingers to press on different energy points. I energetically use my hands to scan the nervous system. And I can feel where there's densities, or I can feel where there is compressed energy or temperature changes. And when I scan my hand over the nervous system and the energy points, the chakras, people also call them, I just hold space. And there's an electric-magnetic frequency that's coming from my body, that's also coming from your body. And those magnetic currents neutralize when they're together. It's kind of like two batteries. One is attracted to a certain frequency, or a positive and a negative, or a negative and a negative. There's different alchemistic things that happen in the body through just lining up those energies. So, there's a lot that happens by just being sensitive. But chemically, there are a handful of different things that happen. The body produces dopamine. The body produces more serotonin, melatonin. The vagus nerve relaxes when you relax the nervous system. So there's a lot of really cool different things that start to happen. But the biggest thing is, just being receptive and showing up where someone is.
Yeah. I'm curious. I bet when someone walks into your space, when somebody walks into the office, I bet that you can kind of look at their posture and just know a lot about them, right? Like I find that so fascinating when you see different bodies and the way that they're, not the way they're shaped, but the way that they're holding their shape, right? Like I wonder if you can just kind of see someone walking in from the parking lot and know. Yeah.
100% of the time, I'm actually drawn to people like out in public, subconsciously, obviously, but now it's becoming more conscious, where I can sense, someone might benefit from me just saying hi based on their body mechanics. Speaking is another transference of energy, so like there's all of these tiny little things that, I'm noticing even more that I fine tune what it is that I do, that it isn't just on the table. It's, in our everyday lives. And
Mhm.
people are doing Reiki when they have an in-depth conversation with someone else. Or, they're writing in their journal and they're moving the energy. It's a transference. Now there are different techniques that come into Reiki as far as different symbols, different ways of kind of moving the energy in the body. And that obviously progresses with different forms of training.
Mhm.
With doing the full Reiki 1 and 2, and then the master certification, I've done all of those different classes, which there's a handful of different techniques that come in. So that kind of caters and grooms the practitioner just to be more in tune.
Mhm.
This modality has been around since the 1920s. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of different practitioners that have been like experimenting with, okay, does this work? How was my client responding after this? And, over the past 11 years with my instructor, we've done just a handful of different things of like what works, what doesn't work. How was our client feeling after this? And,
Mhm.
it's been a beautiful masterpiece of different things. So
That's great. Yeah. You said something about just speaking out loud to someone, saying something, and I'm curious about the sound piece of this because I know that you do sound baths, and that's a big interest of yours. How is that? How is that kind of energy different? Because when I first came to you, I felt like I had a blocked throat chakra. Like that was my thing. It's like I have this great brain and I have a great heart, I thought. But the kind of connection between the two is broken in different ways. So I'm really curious about not just sound and hearing, like so audible
right.
things that you create with, instruments, but also the voice and how the voice can calm us down. We can calm each other down. We
Yeah.
can even calm ourselves down by humming.
Yes. Yeah. So it's really interesting that you mentioned that not just the sound therapy, which is a whole other thing, but
Yeah.
the voice on its own. When I did my intensive sound therapy practitioner class,
Mm-hmm.
the woman she's an amazing practitioner. She had over 70 different instruments, and they all had a certain frequency that they would put off that would help move energy. And she went through all these different instruments. And at the very end, she said, the most powerful tool that you could use is your voice.
Oh.
And she said, there's so many ancient ceremonial practices where they hum or they sing,
Mm-hmm.
and that frequency is catered to your body specifically, and that resonates more with different body types, different energy types.
Mm-hmm.
So you have a certain musician that you resonate more with. Whatever tones they're speaking resonates to your innate nervous system and
Mm-hmm.
the intelligence inside of your body.
Mm.
So yeah, the voice is the most powerful instrument for
Mm-hmm.
sound, and it's soothing. You can tell if someone has an intent to invoke love or invoke hate or invoke sadness or whatever emotion it is that the singer is singing. You can feel that. People go to concerts all over the world, and I'm a huge fan of music and just live music, just feeling the energy. And I'll have conversations with people and I'll say, have you ever heard of like sound therapy? And they're like, oh no. And I'm like, this is sound therapy, listening
Right.
to the voices and the
Totally.
sounds around us. So it's very, very nurturing.
Yeah. How do you think sound heals? Not just with our voices, but you have the bowls.
Yeah.
How does that heal our bodies and our nervous systems?
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot to that. Every sound has a certain vibration, and that vibration resonates with certain parts of our body in certain energy systems.
Mm-hmm.
There's actually different hums and different tones that you can make for certain energy points. And sometimes with my clients, I will actually hum those certain tones in a certain part of their body, like their throat or their root chakra or sacral chakra, wherever it may be. And I think that vibration allows the body to relax and let go. Our bodies are 75% water. And if there's a tone that's going on around us, our body has no other choice but then to kind of surrender and submit a little bit to that tone. So it kind of like overrides other heavier things that we might be going through. And a lot of times, like heavier, denser emotions just sit heavier in our cell walls. And the vibrations from just higher vibrational tones literally shake that cell to the point where it's like, okay, this is overriding me. I'm going to do this frequency instead. And it just neutralizes. And I think that's a big thing, is it neutralizes just heavier, dense vibrations.
Yeah. Yeah. I have to tell you something. So when I was in the session and you started I think you had gotten new bowls. Are they singing bowls? Is that what they're called?
Yes. So the ones that I have in my treatment room are crystal singing bowls. I think those are the ones that we used.
Yeah, you had just gotten them. And I was completely relaxed. It was probably like an hour into it. And I was just feeling relaxed. I wasn't really thinking about anything. I wasn't like unconscious. I wasn't like falling in and out of sleep, which sometimes you do during a massage, but I was just kind of like just feeling really good. And completely involuntarily, I had this vision. I had lots of visions, but like this was the first one. And it's when you started, I believe, using the bowls. And I was like face down and, I was having this like feeling that I was in the fetal position, but I wasn't, right? So I was just like kind of face down because you were working on my back,
right,
as you are in a massage. And, but I had this kind of feeling that I was in this almost like fetal position, but like face down. And then I had this like, it was like an illuminated shape inside of myself, like a fetus shape, right? Like, and I know I'm not pregnant or anything like that. So this was all like magical stuff. And I'm not looking to get pregnant, but it wasn't about that at all. It wasn't really that. It wasn't like this maternal feeling or sexual feeling or anything like that. It was just, there was a shape of like a fetal shape, but illuminated in color. Like it was wild. It was like, oh my gosh, did she give me some mushrooms? Which you did not. I didn't ingest anything. It was so wild because it was colorful and it was just kind of vibrating. And then I had this overwhelming like vision that I was that shape inside of another vessel of a larger shape and a larger shape, like almost like Russian dolls, right? Like, and it was so crazy. And it all came involuntarily from the sound. But I mean, it wasn't something that I could logically think of, right? At all. I wasn't like creating this. It was just this vision. And so it's like I had this vision of like these larger kind of like wombs, like, like that are bigger and bigger and bigger. And then I had the vision of like a seed inside of me and a smaller seed and a smaller seed. And so it was like this super like crazy psychedelic matriarchal, just multi-generational vision, but all image based. Like there was no thought to this. There was no words. And I feel like it came directly from that sound, just this really cool waking dream. And it felt good. I felt safe, so it was like, at first I felt like I just had this one thing inside of me. And then I felt like I'm inside of something. And then I'm inside of something bigger than that. And then bigger than that. And then and I contain something smaller and then smaller. Oh, so that was wild. And I was like, what is in this sound bath? This is so cool. So that was an experience on your channel.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that
really
so
cool.
much. And, to be able to fully receive is where those experiences happen. You didn't have a certain agenda that you had in your mind that you wanted to, that, you wanted to co-create in the experience. We were just both showing up vulnerably. Hey, let's see where this energy takes us. You know, and the sounds are so beautiful because it gets us out of the conscious mind and into our subconscious. And the subconscious mind communicates with us in the dream realm through different images and different pictures and different things. So to be able to like still be consciously, you're still in the room, you're not asleep, but your subconscious is bringing things up to the surface. And a lot of times the sounds are at the sounds that are coming from the bowls are very angelic, and they're at certain tones that just make us feel safe. And I think it was an opportunity for you to kind of, you know, I'm going to put my mind to the side. It's beautiful because the sounds that come from the bowls are different hertz. And when those hertz are going at the same time and those vibrations are going at the same time, it balances the left and the right side of the brain. And you can't tell where the sound is going to come from. So, you know, the sound could be coming from the left part of the room, but you actually hear it as if it's bouncing off of the other side of the room and vice versa in different areas. So it gets to the point where your conscious brain has to kind of just neutralizing and just kind of plateau. And then the subconscious comes up.
Okay. That makes sense. Yeah.
So, I mean, but to hear like the womb and like, you know, this nurturing and this seed and you're you're all in it together. I mean, that's such a beautiful response. Because that's really ideally as a practitioner, what I would dream of someone having an experience as is, you know, I feel safe enough to where I feel as if I'm in a womb and I'm being rebirthed.
Yeah.
You know,
crazy. Yeah.
So that's just
good job on that one. And that was only one. So it was like, if I had like just that one, it would have been fine. But yeah, and it was so like big, like it wasn't this thing where like, oh yeah, I had this like, you know, mother wound or this sister wound. It wasn't anything I was working through. It was more like I have a strong sense of belonging in the world. Like, you know, and like within the past and the future. And like, I have a strong sense of belonging here as some sort of link. And that was it, you know, and it wasn't necessarily like even a physical kind of maternal feeling. It was more like, no, I belong here and I'm secure here. And I'm a creator, and I'm also taken care of. So that was just wild and amazing. So thank you for that. That was a gift. Yeah, it was so cool. Very cool. So yeah, I'm really curious about sound healing. I'm going to look more into that.
It's phenomenal. I mean, it's changed my practice to the point of, you know, there isn't one modality that's going to heal everybody or help catalyze someone to the answers that they need to receive more clarity to heal. You know, I just work as a catalyst, and to be able to have multiple different tools to try to shift the energy so we can get out of our own way is a beautiful thing. And since I've been tying the sound therapy in with my Reiki sessions and in with my massage, just this beautiful thing has happened. And you know, people are really enjoying it. A lot of positive feedback from autistic children, and people who are going through cancer and chemotherapy and radiation. With 75% of the patients who receive sound therapy while they're going through chemotherapy or radiation, their detoxing process or healing process from the chemicals or the treatment is nowhere near as severe. So they have different facilities where and it's not as popular in the United States. A lot of it's overseas, but they'll have sound therapists in the hospitals and the oncology facilities, and you know, just helping with their treatments, you know. And I mean, who's to say, is it just helping them detox more because the vibrations are shaking the cells at a molecular level? Or is it helping them shake off the stress or the precursors that actually cause them to lower their immune system and, have this condition. So it's,
Yeah. And I was going to ask you about, like how kind of emotions and thoughts affect us and, create physical illnesses. But one of the, so that was just kind of my generic question, but specifically since you mentioned cancer, and other illnesses, I'm curious, just because I've talked on this podcast a little bit about addiction and eating disorders. I'm real curious about if you know of any cures or sound bath and sound healing when it comes to things like that, because those are so closely linked. Eating disorders, which is also the same kind of like obsessive compulsive disorder. How does that affect, like, is this being used in rehab and in clinics where they're treating things like eating disorders? Do you know?
I'm sure they are. I know that within the past, 10 years, the sound therapy has gone like 0 to 100, even within like the past 3 years. So I would imagine that if I had a practice where I could help and cater to people that are going through different, programs or addiction, or, you had mentioned eating disorders, or even just regular psychological therapies for the everyday person. I mean, I think it helps us get out of our own way.
Yeah.
And it helps rewire the neurological synapses in our brain by sending different signals.
Right.
And if our brain is hardwired on a certain chemical by, drug or food, then we're used to that synapses pathway. And the sound therapy helps rewire the brain.
Right.
So, I mean, I think it would be awesome if they incorporated it in there. And I wouldn't be surprised if we start to see it more.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. In the future. There's a lot of really cool things that actually scientifically helps our body produce more nitric oxide. And when there's more nitric oxide in the bloodstream, we have increased production of red blood cells, increased production of white blood cells. We've got, so having that nitric oxide moving around in our body is having a chemical reaction to every system in the body. So it's going to help whatever it is that you're going through. So it's been a beautiful thing, but I would love to. I mean, if I had an opportunity to go do a sound session at a rehab, I would be like over the moon.
Yeah. Or maybe just with like an AA group or an NA group.
Yeah. That's a great idea.
Yeah. Yes. I think they could benefit from it for sure. I guess that kind of leads to the next thing, which is, talking about psychological illnesses or, issues and more everyday stuff like stress, right? So like, I happen to believe that relaxation and play can serve as medicine. And that's, that's why I find it so important to talk about it, like to be more playful and to be, get more relaxed. It's it needs to be top priority because of stress-related illnesses. And so where have you seen that? Like maybe even if you can give me an example of a client or where somebody had what seemed to be very much a stress-related illness, or where their stress was making their illness worse, where you kind of saw some healing happen.
A lot of the clients that come to me, they've realized, hey, I'm not happy. My life is overwhelming. Or, you know what? My life is pretty good and I want to make it even better and make more space to receive for themselves. And, recently I had a client who I've worked on for years. He's been doing massage therapy with me for about 10 years. And he's going through a divorce. And I said, listen, this is one of the most important times to keep doing our treatments, and he's hasn't experienced any Reiki or, any of the spiritual stuff out there. He's got his own religion, and Reiki works with all forms of religion. And I go over that with my clients as well as, there isn't a certain denomination you need to be. And I'm working with him and he tells me, they just found a tumor on, a certain body part. And I said, okay, let's do some Reiki today and let's try some sound therapy. And he was like, at this point, I'll do anything. And we did this session. He had a similar visual experience with the sound therapy, completely relaxed. It was probably the first time that he was able to just let his guard down. Was really kind of out of it, left. And I'd been thinking about him nonstop for probably about 2 weeks. And then I'm driving and I run into him and I call him and I was like, hey, how are you doing? I've been wondering how you were since your session. And he goes, Jules, you're not going to believe it. But they went to do the surgery for the tumor and the doctor couldn't find the cyst. He couldn't find the tumor. It had dissipated.
Wow.
And I'm like, what? How is that? I can't believe it was a miracle. He's just about crying. I'm crying on the phone. I'm like ecstatic. And I'm like, man, I don't know if the Reiki and the sound healing did it, but it definitely didn't hurt anything. And, he's.
And what was the time? What was that time period between the sound healing and when he went to the hospital?
Yeah, it was probably, less than a month. But, and I'm not sure how it could have happened so quick other than it being a miracle, because the body usually takes time to adjust, it's like you do sessions and then you work on the layers and then you make changes and, your innate intelligence inside of you starts lining up with the intelligence outside of you that's going to have answers to different doctors and different things. So a case like this is extremely rare.
Yeah.
But I believe in miracles. I'm like, hey, we both have an intention to heal. Let's just do this. And I think he was so willing to receive that all of the right hinges of energy just completely lined up. And
well, it sounds like since he was, he hadn't been willing to before, and then maybe he had been doing all kinds of work behind the scenes.
Totally.
Him, so maybe his body was already healing and he said, okay, I'm open to it. And so that's the first time you heard, that he was open to healing. Yeah.
Yes. Right. Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Cause a lot of the magic, it's a little seed starts at the table.
Yeah.
And then those pathways start to open and then different people come in your life and different information and different resources nudge you. And you start to gravitate towards different things that you're being pulled to. Yeah. So a lot of the Reiki is, yes, it's relaxing while you're on the treatment table and, you feel comforted and you feel safe, but it's really what happens outside of the room and how your life starts to shift and how people start coming into your lives, and you start questioning and you start really analyzing. And it happens subconsciously.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's just a whole web of different paths that you might take, different things that you might do for yourself or create boundaries that you didn't create before.
Yes. That's exactly it.
So you have, some kind of group programs, like in addition to your one-on-one practice, you have some, sound bath kind of, gatherings in the Jacksonville area, because that's where you're based. But I wonder for somebody like maybe a listener who either can't spend the time or the money doing something like this, is there something you do like on a daily basis that helps you, like something sound healing related or Reiki that anyone can do at home to kind of start this process that we're talking about, of changing and improving your life?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So a good little go-to, very simple technique that I do daily and I educate my clients on doing daily just to get the energy moving and to get the stress out of their body is a very simple meditation technique. And I tell my clients, you can lay down, you can sit. I recommend you do it when you have at least 10 minutes or so to yourself. And that's the first part of it, giving yourself 10 minutes for just myself, just me and my being and my heart and my space. So designate, 10 minutes or so, you're going to lay down. And I have clients visualize just any stress, any heaviness, any tiredness, any pain, whatever it is that they're working on. I like them to imagine the energy washing down them, coming down their head, down their shoulders, visualize it moving out of their spinal column and push it down their hips, down their legs, down their feet into the earth. And by creating that mental and energetic channel, it's a washing. And I think just washing energy off of us daily is huge. So this is just like an energetic clearing, energetic washing that you can do. And then the more that you start just creating a channel of where you're intentionally pushing energy off and out of you and into the earth, you make more space for the energy to go wherever it needs to in your different organs and your nervous system and your lymph nodes. And, you know, it starts in the mind. And if you channel it in a certain way, you know, and I tell them, you know, visualize the roots of the trees and, you know, those roots pulling the energy down to the center of the earth, and visualize this giant, you know, hot magma filled ball of just earth energy that absorbs all of that. And
yeah, that's good.
they feel lighter, you know, and I think that's a super simple thing that they can do. Yeah. And then once you make space in the body energetically, new information can come. And that's where that intelligence comes in to play.
Yeah. I love that. Cause then you have almost like a ritual, and I'm really big into kind of like creating little rituals in your life. But I like that because I easily get overwhelmed with information, and I'm sure all of us do, with images, information, all this media, and you just go outside and just take a little bath, like wash it away. I love that. Yeah.
Yes.
I think I'm going to go do it right now after our interview.
Yeah, it's hard to not start doing it as you hear it.
Right now, I'm washing. Get my energy
in the bathtub. I mean, you know, if you tie in different elements with it too, like while you're in the bath, visualize it. And then, you know, visualize that energy when you pull the plug out, that's going all the way down the drain. It's not yours anymore. You know, and it's all about, you know, making space. Well,
I know visualization is very powerful. You know, it's been proven to even like you can practice the piano in your mind while you're not, when you don't have a piano in front of you. So I think what you're saying, the whole sound healing, but then also visual healing, like those are two powerful senses that you can really do a lot with when it comes to helping to heal yourself, which I'm a big believer in, although I love coming to our sessions. I'm so grateful for it. It's been amazing, but it's really nice it's empowering to be able to know how to do some of those things on your own. So thank you for that. And thank you for joining me today. This has been really cool.
Yay, of course. Thank you for just trusting me and making space to have this as, you know, an opportunity for other people to hear whatever bit of information or insight it is that they need. You know, and I think, you know, you creating this healing, amazing container where you're bringing people that are passionate about whatever service they are offering for the community, or just inside is beautiful. So thanks for, you know, making the space to coordinate.
Yeah. Thank you for acknowledging that. That's great. And also are there any upcoming events that you're doing or anything that you want to talk about that I can put in the show notes?
Yes. Quarterly Reiki activations, which go over simple techniques to also move the energy in your body. And then we actually show you how to send Reiki to somebody else and how to discern, you know, is this my energy I'm pushing on somebody or sending to somebody, or is this like universal consciousness energy? So we teach you how to tap into the differences and how to sense that. So we do that quarterly. And then we do hands-on Reiki circles. So if you're someone who wants to experience a one-on-one session, but you know, you're not 100% convinced that you know, you're still wanting to just tap in, but you don't want to spend the money on a full treatment, we do a group Reiki circle where we have about 3 or 4 different practitioners that work on everybody in like a kind of like a group setting. So
Yeah. Okay,
those
cool.
are discounted as well. So I can send you all the dates for those, and yeah, and there'll be a lot more too.
Yeah,
So
cool.
awesome,
Look forward
Sarah.
to
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Julia, and I will see you at
Yay.
the next session.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Lifeiness. You can check out the show notes to find out more information about Julia Everson's massage therapy and Reiki practice, and her sound healing, of course. Remember to follow me at Book of Lifeiness on Instagram and TikTok. And I hope you have a beautiful day and a relaxing evening. Perhaps try out that energy bath that Julia was talking about, something you can practice at home on a daily basis.